The topic of the current event is as follows. Investors come back to Ukraine. The competition for participation in Yuzivska gas field production sharing agreement is over. We have Mr. Yaroslav Klymovych, head of the board, Nadra, Ukraine, National Joint Stock Company, and Victor Nazarkevych, director of Nadra, Yuzivka LLC. Dear colleagues, I would like to start with the reminder that during the last years, the considerable cutting of the budget allocations for geological exploration happened, and under these conditions, raising domestic production becomes rather doubtful. And because of this, the National Joint Stock Company Nadra of Ukraine, Mineral Resources of Ukraine, was established specifically to resolve this issue, to raise exploration, geological exploration works, and also one of our purposes is to implement the state policy on attraction of investments to the oil and gas production sector. We believe that Yuzivska gas Yuzivska gas field or Yuzivska production area could be one of the most promising in terms of raising domestic hydrocarbon production, and the most profitable correspondingly. You might remember that in January 2013, the PSA on Yuzivska area came to force. That PSA was between the state of Ukraine, represented by the Cabinet of Ministers, and Shell and Chevron companies on the other hand. Later, Shell withdraw its participation from the agreement. The Yuzivska production project is designed in a way that it requires considerable investment funds from the investor. At the same time, the state of Ukraine will gain its benefits in a form of participation in the product sharing agreement. So after withdrawal of the investor, the project had to be suspended. Finally, after a lot of debate and discussions, we decided to extend the PSA period, especially keeping in mind that Shell company has held extensive geological survey and analysis of geological information. At the same time, there was a clear understanding that Nadra Yuzivska state company had very limited resources in terms of geological exploration. So we decided to involve operator to the Yuzivska area. One way was to sell investors' rights, but we decided to raise competition, and also keeping in mind that the interagency commission, whose responsibility is to deal with all the PSAs, involved to the competition board broad membership from the experts, from MPs, and from the sectoral experts, we decided to announce competition for the operatorship in the Yuzivska area. As for the competition itself, we try to make the competition as transparent as possible. You have any doubts because you wave your head? Okay, we will discuss. You can monitor the transparency of our procedure. Having opened the websites. Also, we cooperated with the American Chamber of Commerce, with the European Business Association, and we approached their energy committees of these business associations and disseminated information about this competition for operatorship. Also, we approached 11 diplomatic missions in the territories of countries which are big oil and gas producers in the sector, and we aim to involve the biggest companies from all over the world. In Nadra, Ukraine portfolio, Yuzivska asset became, after escape of Shell, became one of the well-known assets. And for example, with involvement of Canadian Embassy in Canada, we organized a special event devoted to the opportunities opened in this license area. In result of the competition, we found out interest among 5 companies. 3 of them applied for buying the contest information and data. When the tender was over, the proposal envelopes were opened. So the competition committee had selected the winner, like BizGaz BV. In mass media, you might see the information that the winner of this tender is of the bidding is already selected, but it's a bit early to mention the winner. In line with the rules of the bidding procedure, at this stage, we select the best technical proposal. Further stage of the procedure, of selection procedure, is the move from the state. The Interagency Commission has to study the documents of which applicant and express its doubts as for the property, as to form, as to the ownership of the company, or any other, as to shareholder aspects, etc. Also, I would like to inform you about that positive features, that advantages upon which we may count in a case of positive development of the project. The gas reserves of this field may amount to 1.3 trillion of cubic meters. Shell company had carried out a huge amount of discovery work, and they their normal scenario, neutral scenario suggested that there might be 10 billion cubic meters of gas production per year. And finally, I would like to mention that all the steps that would be done would be done in course of the further procedure with PSA in positive direction might allow Ukraine to approach to its energy independence. I would like to add that all the information related to the tender, to the competition, it is of course confidential, but keeping in mind that there is a huge interest on behalf of society, we asked the competition, the tender participants, we asked for their permission to disclose some pieces of information. Now my colleague, director of Nadra, Yuzivska, will describe in more detail this story with all necessary figures, etc. Thank you. If you allow me, I would like to point your attention to the presentation. So first, the Cabinet of Ministers decision was made. The resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers number 1298 in November 2011. Then Shell won that tender, and in November 2013, that was that PSA was signed. In July 2014, Shell announced force majeure situation and withdraw its its participation. Although Shell suggested to suspend this agreement, but we decided to continue. In late August 2015, the first session of the Interagency Commission on PSA organization decided to hold the open bidding procedure to establish the bidding committee and to include the PSA Interagency Commission members to the bidding committee, also representatives from Nadra, Cabinet of Ministers, etc. In October 2014, the next meeting of the Interagency Commission was held, which had approved the bidding procedure rules, and in October 2015, Nadra Yuzivska had announced the bidding procedure beginning, and we posted that advertising in all possible sources. We produced press releases. We disseminated information via different foreign sources. Then we started to apply to business associations. I would like to express thanks to Anna Derevyanka, President of the European Business Association. Also, I would like to thank to Mr. Graham Tyler, who was leader of the Shell company, CEO of Shell company in Ukraine. He disseminated that information among the Energy Committee of American Chamber of Commerce, so this information was broadly disseminated. Besides that, we approached to the mission, to Ukrainian diplomatic missions in the following countries: the United States, Canada, China, the UK, France, Italy, Netherlands, Germany, Cyprus, India, and Australia. At the same time, we held several meetings with representatives of invest associations, invest funds, and representatives of oil companies from China, Israel, India, and Canada. This shows how the information was disseminated via mass media. These are printed media, these are posts from internet. So the information was posted very broadly because we believed that this was very interesting project. Now, as to the bidding procedure. So the deadline for the bidding procedure was December 2015. Of course, it was not enough time to process all the information. One of the famous oil and gas companies applied for extension of this familiarizing period. The area is big, 7.8 thousand square kilometers. It requires very deep consideration of all the factors. So the companies applied for extension of the period. We made decision to extend it, and actually there was several requests about extension of the deadline, and Aravak company wished to extend this period even longer, but keeping in mind the budgeting procedure and many details in legal procedure. Since we decided to assign part of the states' rights in the PSA, this would require additional time. That's why we could not postpone the deadline any longer. So finally, we had Balkash Petroleum BV, we had Burisma Holdings Limited, and Yuzivska BV. So these were the final bidding applications which were submitted to the bidding committee. And now the most interesting aspect maybe, how the decision about the bidding winner was made. We have got special permissions from the companies about disclosing the confidential information about their proposals. Keeping in mind that the project is designed for 50 years, the first 5 years would be devoted to the geological exploration. This is the most risky period when the company will just invest money without any confidence that this might be beneficial in the future. So the companies, the applicants promised up to $410 million of US dollars of investment, while this the state recommended not less than $64 million. So here you see that Balkash Petroleum offered 10 million, Burisma 2.7 billion hryvnia, or $108 million, and $200 million were offered by Yuzgas. As for the minimal working obligations in course of geological exploration, so 2-3 seismic and 3D seismic were offered by Balkash. As for drilling, as for number of shells, Shell offered 15 wells. Balkash Petroleum offered 3 wells. So the first well had to be drilled during second year of exploration. The second well should be drilled during third year of exploration. Burisma Holding offered to drill 2 or 3 wells. Yuzgas remained the drilling at the level of 15 wells, just it was originally designed by Shell. Also in the old PSA, the bonuses were offered to the state at the moment of her first gas production. In initial PSA, this sum amounted to $15 million. Balkash offered 2.5 million, while Yuzgas left $25 million. The bonus at maximum production, Balkash offered 50, Burisma 50, Yuzgas left $100 million. The governmental part in the PSA. Quite often people ask what's the difference between initial PSA conditions in favor of Ukraine against current PSA conditions. So the governmental share in PSA should be not less 16.5%. Gas offered between 26 and 60%. What does it mean between 25 and 60? This should be calculated in line with a special formula envisaged by PSA. Also, social investments. Yuzivska area is located in Kharkiv and Donetsk Oblast. And when the drilling would begin, there should be social investments in those regions, like financing of hospitals, roads, etc. Long ago, we discussed very carefully the strategy of social investments for each year. In the old PSA, Shell suggested that they would invest up to $2 million by the end of first 5 years. Balkash offered just 1.2 million per year. Burisma offered $300,000, while they promised to indicate this in the work program, and Gas offered $100,000 by the end of first 5-year period. Also, construction of the social infrastructure, training for sectoral personnel, etc. Here you can see what was offered by different bidders. So the bidding procedure results. When we opened the envelopes on July 8th this year, we invited the participants, the bidders, to be present. We had all representatives of the competition, of the tender committee. We studied that applications very carefully, and at this stage we decided who would become a winner. So, having analyzed all the all the bids, we offered Yuzivka as a winner in this stage. So Yuzivka BV offered the bigger initial obligation at a level of $200 million. Also, it provided good guarantee of parent company. Also, they offered the biggest program for discovery period, where they confirmed to pay the bonuses at the level offered by Shell for the first commercially commercial inflow of gas, $25 million for first development and first developed gas and first maximum production up to $100 million. But the decision anyway will be made by the cabinet of ministers, by Ukrainian state. And now the state of Ukraine has 90 days to make decision whether this very applicant will be selected as the investor for this project. Upon this decision made by the cabinet of ministers, we will conclude new PSA with this new applicant. And later, the first wells, upon conclusion of the new PSA, the new first wells will be drilled. And now I would like to ask Yaroslav about Ukrainian participant GeoService, SPK GeoService.
It was informed by our press releases and the company Nadra Ukrainy, and on the 1st of August this year, there was a meeting of stakeholders, and they took the decision to that they will exit this process, and they will sell their share nominal price, and the only participant of Nadra Yuzivska is Nadra of Ukraine, and as of today, SPK GeoService is absent in this project. Thank you. Thank you. So this is all about the contest, about the applications. So maybe this is the answer to some of your questions, but in any case, I will be glad to answer any questions. Thank you, dear colleagues. And now, Q&A session. Please introduce yourself. Yuzivka, our money program. Tell us, please, what does it mean that this is 92% participation? What does it get for this? Thank you for your question. As to the share of participation that can Yuzgas can get, this is not the 95 but 90%, and they will get rights and obligations as investor, and also they will be responsible for financial obligations and financing of all the works under the agreement at the level of 90%. So other participants proposed another part of participation. What is the difference? 70%, 90%. So the difference in rights. So there are products that is distributed into two parts, compensation and profitable. Compensation are returned to investors when they invest in prospecting that is envisaged in the agreement, and the second category is profitable, and the state and investors get their share, but investors should pay cost at level of production. And also, I would like to note that during 5 years, the investor will finance Nadra Yuzivska and all the works connected with the geological works. The company belongs to Nadra will get its percentage in the project and will get access to the information and will get profitable profit, and to be so they get 90% of participation. the pot, if we, so it is divided in the proportion. It is divided between the state and investors. So the state can get up to 60%, and the other part is provided to investors. And then this part is divided, and I would like to say that Yuzgas provided Nadra Yuzivska, they proposed the biggest sum, and overall sum 4 million, and others at the level of 250 million or $3.5 million, and in tranches during extraction, $36 million. And also they say that this is not a real investor, but they just want to hold it and then they will exit. So maybe what is the opportunity of reselling this 90%? Can it be done? Firstly, I would like to say that the state will identify during 90 days. We have all the instruments to understand whether it is real investor, whether they have funds. If they do not fulfill the obligations that they provided in application, then the state has all the rights to stop this. And whether this company whether this company sells, this is a question to this company. So any changes. So according to the contest, there is a participant. The state should provide. They should get the permission of the state first. Next question, please. Please introduce Roman Ivanchenko, Interfax Ukraine. Tell us, please, do you know the end beneficiaries of Yuzgas company? And secondly, can you tell us who are they? And secondly, you said that the company provided guarantees 200 million. Whether these guarantees will be provided, and what is this company? And what is the form of this guarantee? Thank you, Roman, for your question. As to beneficiaries of Yuzgas, taking into account those obligations and those documents each participant provided, we understand we got formal documents that the founder is Fund of Direct Investment in Stone Energy. And as to end beneficiary, I cannot comment on this. This is a question to investor. But as I know through the media, there is an interview of Yaroslav, who is the founder of Stone Energy, and Nazarkevych newspaper. He formulated his position there, and this issue, you can ask him about it, and it's about mother company. The guarantee of Stone Energy is provided to us that it will finance $200 million. According to this contract, Yuzgas obligations that they provided in the application, that they are in the agreement on this distribution. Do you have some financial document whether this company really have this money, and if there is no money, so what will be the consequences if these funds are not provided? Maybe some fines? Thank you, Roman. At this stage, taking into account those our powers, we verified the existence of this company, that it is registered. It underwent some verifications, and these guarantees, they also go through registrators, the Fund Luxembourg and the Yuzgas Netherlands, and these guarantees, they are controlled by the regulators of those countries, and the Nadra Yuzivska company and the contest committee You know that the state has 90 days. They have all the powers to understand whether this company will be able to fulfill its obligations or not. And I hope that, well, they will get involved and they will provide the agreement or disagreement on this. This will be envisaged by the agreement. If the state provides positive answer for the introduction of the new investor, it should make sure that these obligations will be met. And in the agreement, it will be provided that if the investor does not fulfill its obligations, it should pay some compensation to the state in the form of particular sum, and the state has enough instruments in order to verify these obligations, in order to defend the interests of the state. I would like to add the guarantee of the mother company in the case of a provision of the agreement from the side of the state. There will be addition to the agreement as it was with Shell company, the guarantee of mother companies. They submitted it, and the state will maximally verify this. Alexander, the first question to Victor. Maybe I'm mistaken, please correct me, about agreement. As I understand, the orderer should have been the state. And also, the state should develop the conditions of this contest. And to Yaroslav Klymovych, about Shell, you told us that company invested money in this project and then it left, and these assets were left without any compensation. Is there a document that they provided it for free? Because, for example, tomorrow they can come and say that, please give us back what we invested. So this is all envisaged in the agreement on the distribution. And if they used force majeure and they had the right unilaterally to exit this project. And according to agreement, there are two investors. There were two investors. Now there is one. And after Shell exited, so all the materials, all that was done is now transferred to Nadra Yuzivska. So Nadra Yuzivska is the only investor in this project. Thank you, Alexander, for your question.
I will answer to your question as for the company that commissioned the competition. This bidding was not an obligation. This was just a decision of Nadra Yuzivska company. We had held the competition, the previous bidding procedure back in 2011. Nadra Yuzivska, which left the only one investor, had a possibility to sell simply its rights, to farm out its rights, but we decided to try the more complicated way. We decided to follow up the longer way of the assignment of rights, but it allows us to make the procedure more transparent. It allows us to involve more participants to the competition as to the bidding procedure itself. The Interagency Commission suggested us to have the opened competition by the end of the year, to invite international companies and to understand whether there is any interest on behalf of the major sector companies. But Nevertheless, we found out some companies. We negotiated with 5 companies. We signed confidentiality agreements with 5 of them. What does it mean? It means that they were interested, and 3 of them finally applied for their bids, and the Interagency Commission developed the bidding procedure. It approved all the steps of this procedure, so they participated directly. Also, the text of the procedure and conditions of the bidding competition was very much based on the same resolution number 1297/1298, which was designed for the previous bidding procedure with Shell and Chevron. Question to Viktor and Yaroslav from Novy Region. How would you comment on the information in mass media that MPs from the presidential faction, Matviyenko and Lopushansky, and from Vola, will of the people, some people see signs of corruption in this respect. Anya, in line with the procedure of the competition, the MPs who are members of the Interagency Commission had to become participants of the tender. We have 6 MPs in the Interagency Commission, and they applied their requests for participation. Lopushansky, Matviyenko, and Bandurak. So you confirm this? Yes, I confirm they agreed to participate in it. Other MPs rejected to do this.
Alexander Serenka, Ternak Journal magazine. The question is, you said that there are 5 companies, that they had the interest in this company. Can you name them? The last 2, I mean. And the question to Yaroslav. Nadra, Ukraine, had previously some equipment for drilling, and what is the technical condition, and whether this equipment will be included in this project, and also the question if everything depends on the Cabinet of Ministers' decision as to this project. If the Cabinet of Ministers won't agree, what will be the consequences? Whether the case will be filed to the court. As to the equipment that another Ukraine possesses, technical condition of this drilling equipment is not satisfactory. You know that there are many problems in the geological sphere. The volume of geodetic works decreases, and the situation in the market is difficult. And during last years, there were no modernization in the sphere. But with our own forces, step by step, we try to make some improvements, and we have our program to remodernize the company. And of course, we cannot buy a lot of modern equipment because there is no request for these services, and we hope, and it is envisaged by the agreement, that in case positive decisions will be adopted by the state. Second stage is the signing of operative agreement that regulates relationship between investors, and also we hope that we will be active participants. We spoke about it with potential investors, that we will enter operational committee and will take decisions and help in taking correct decisions. And you know that on the Nadra in the Nadra Ukraine company in Poltava, there is a Ukernauka Center. This is our leading enterprise. Due to Shell company, it was reinforced because when Shell entered, it undertook obligation to develop alternative resources, and they bought for the institute modern equipment. They bought the modern equipment for laboratory tests, and we hope that we will be able to be active participants not only in the management, but also we will be able to provide our services in order to work better, to realize and to complete this works. Also, the number of special equipment, if we are speaking about have Uralmash 3D, for example, 12 or 13 of such, but they are not in satisfactory condition. And will we file the case to the court? It is difficult to answer this question. We should wait and see. The decision of the government of this issue is important, and then we will be speaking about the future developments in this project. Alexandra, I remember about your question about two companies. So I would say about it, but there is confidentiality, and they specified that till the application, till the agreement, we cannot disclose information about these companies. One more question about one more project, about the contest. The situation is the same. We have already addressed to the Commission on these issues, but there is a different legal status. You know that operational agreement was not signed and Chevron exit, and now we work in the direction, and we hope that in the nearest future we will address in the departmental commission that will create a special body that will work on the mechanism as to through open contest to work on attracting investors. And using this opportunity, I announce this event. We start working today. Thank you. One more question. Gas company and Emerson Energy do not have experience in geodetic works and in extraction of gas. So about equipment, where they will get it and what it will be. Thank you, Alisa. As to technical experience, each company creates some project companies to work in the market, and in oil and gas this is a standard situation. Here the project company is created, but the important issue is that Yuzivka goes together with such companies as Schlumberger, and I think that people know about this company. And in case of conclusion of this agreement, Schlumberger will take care of technical area at Yuzivska site. And Nadra Yuzivska state and investors of Nadra Yuzivska, what will be done in order the state does not invest anything. The only thing it can do is to provide the certificates, the documents, and Nadra Yuzivska will be financed by investors. That's why mother company, state company, won't provide any funds, and this is an interesting proposal, and we hope that the state take decision in order to start works. Thank you. Do you have other questions? If there are no, so this is the end of press conference. Thank you very much and goodbye.